Hi, and welcome to another special edition of 409 Sports X's and O's. And we've got ourselves another coach.
Yes, we
Coming in this week, Coach Josh Smalley, Orangefield, America.
Appreciate you guys having me, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, Orangefield, America. I like that.
Orangefield,
Somebody else said
I think
last week.
Coach
Big place,
Peavy,
big place.
Coach Peavy, who's from Orangefield, America,
sure
called it
is.
that, I believe. It was either Orangefield, America or Orangefield, USA.
We can't figure it out. But
Hey,
it's
the
all good.
people that are from Orangefield will they're diehard, son. So they take great pride in being from there.
God's country, right?
Yes, that's what we call it. That's what we call it.
Population 18,000.
Not quite.
Not
close.
A little bit.
Close.
Yeah, about a quarter of that.
17,999. I think it
Now, on this show, we like to talk a little bit about football, a little bit of X's and O's, of course. That's the name of the show. But we're also going to talk about some fun things, namely hair. We talk about hair a lot on this show.
I can
And
imagine.
Chick-fil-A
I see
sandwiches.
that. I love Chick-fil-A. It's the best.
No Popeyes yet. We talked
It's
about that
the
off
best.
air. So
Well, we're going to talk
We'll
more
get
about
there.
the Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A coming up later on. But let's talk about a little football first. Week 1, and needless to say, you're in the win column.
Sure.
You take care of Kip Generations, 58-0, and
Yes, sir.
you know, what do you get out of that game? How tough is that to not, you know, you don't want to embarrass any other kids, you don't want to,
Sure.
hurt them, but you got to see your team play.
Well, it was good to get out there and get some live competition. You know, it's the first time that since we've been practicing, we've been able to do special teams live, live kickoff turn, because all that stuff's usually dead during scrimmages. We got our backups, a lot of work, which they need to get, because I'm sure at some point in our season we're going to have to count on some of those guys to come in and take some quality reps for us. So we got out healthy. That was number one. That was the main goal, get out of there healthy. We do have some areas we got to improve on. We had 2 turnovers. We fumbled the ball twice. That's unacceptable. So we've been working on that. We had some penalties where we got to work on. So, yeah, it was a good win for us, and we were able to kind of take the pedal off the gas a little bit there in the second half, but there's still a lot of things we got to get better at. So number 1, we came out healthy. Number 2, we got a W in front of our home crowd. So we were excited about that.
now, how important is it to start off to get to that 1-0 victory?
I think it's very important. I mean, obviously, in a 10-game season, it's not the end of the world if you don't. But I think for team morale, especially coming off the year we had last year and the way we finished up, getting that win taste back in our mouth was good for our kids.
Now, you got to love a coach. You win a game 58-0, and you're like, there's some things we got to clean up.
Well, I tell the kids that all the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you think you played or how bad you think you played. When you watch film, you'll always find something. So you may think you dominated and played your best game ever, and you watch film the next day, and there's 9 things you pick out and say, hey, you didn't step right on this, or we turned the ball over, or we had penalties, or we were not, the tempo wasn't good. And sometimes you think you played horrible, and you go back and watch the film, and you think, you know what, we really didn't play that bad. We played a really good football team, and we just didn't win. So the film don't lie. It always shows something.
Phil
on
never
sideline.
lies.
Yeah.
No. And speaking of your opponent this week, it's people don't really understand how tough it is to schedule. And we were discussing this right before we went live tonight. You don't look for Kip Generations.
No.
Normally, when you're making a schedule, tell us how that happened, and you ended up playing a charter school like that.
2 years ago, we were Class 4A, and the UIL realigned, and we thought we were going to stay 4A. So we had our pre-district set with Buna and Kirbyville and some of those teams, and so when we dropped, all those teams went into our district. And so I was scrambling to find non-district games now. Not only find them, it put us in an 8-team district. I had to find 3 non-district games. So that's how you reach out, and you end up playing Livingston 2 hours away, Shepherd 2 hours away, and we end up with Kip. And so that's how that kind of worked out. It wasn't by design or anything like that, but I got a lot of respect for those Kip kids and their coaching staff. They showed up. They coached their tails off. The kids played hard. They were great kids, very appreciative, of being able to have a game. And so it wasn't supposed to work out that way, but it is what it is. We made the best of that situation.
And not to mention, that's a group of kids that plays all their games on the road.
Yeah. There's not a home stadium, and so they do a lot of traveling. And so, and they even scored a touchdown against us, and they got called back on a penalty. And
Oh, man. You just had to tell us that, didn't you?
well, I mean,
we didn't know that.
I'm standing on the sideline, and the kid goes down the sideline, and I'm looking, and there was a block in the back right in front of me, and I'm almost to that official going, don't call it, man. Don't call it.
Just let him have it.
Because I want to see those kids celebrate a little bit and have a good time and enjoy the game. And he threw the flag, and I was like, oh, goodness. But, as a defense coordinator and defense coach, you want a shutout. And so, defense coaches were excited. That flag come out, and I'm over like, man, I almost wish those kids could celebrate a little bit and enjoy it,
Now, with that, sorry about that. So in that big 58-0 victory there, Does the playbook open up a little bit now going in against Livingston, or did you guys throw the whole kitchen sink at them?
No, I think we only finished the night with 25 offensive snaps.
Wow.
And so I think going in
Scoring efficiency is high right now.
there was a lot of first play touchdowns. And so, we only, like I said, 25 offensive snaps. I think going in the fourth quarter, we only had like 13, 14 snaps going in the fourth quarter. So we didn't show much. And our kids didn't play a whole lot. Our starting type kids didn't play much. We didn't show many formations. We didn't show a lot of stuff that we have. So, yes, the playbook will open up this week. The formations will open up this week. So I really feel like with Livingston, who's I know we're going to talk about, is a huge improved team over last year. They're going to give us a great challenge, and so I really feel like it's going to be a ball game. We're going to find out what we're made of this week. It'll be the first time some of these guys have had to play 60, 70 snaps in a game. We'll see what kind of shape we're in, what kind of condition we're in. It's supposed to be hot. I hope it's hot as can be. I really do. I really do. And so, yeah, the playbook will open up, and we'll hopefully, showcase a little bit more what we can do.
Now, talking more about Livingston, first of all, how thankful are you that you're not on the Yellow Dog going to Livingston?
Well, we are Thursday night for the JV game.
Well, for varsity at least, that's an unusual place. It's got a cinder track, old school cinder track. The trees grow over the visiting stands, and used to, I heard she's not there anymore, there used to be a woman by the name of Reba.
Where you at, Reba?
She was the PA announcer there at Livingston and literally would call out the plays of the other team. She would yell, run and play, run and play. You'd hear over the speakers, or she would argue a call. It's definitely a unique place, Livingston.
It was a good place. They've got a lot of new construction going on up there for the schools. And so last year, the locker room they had us in was very nice. Everything was nice. The stadium was the old stadium. I've heard they're building new facilities for a new stadium possibly. So always nice not to have to travel 2 hours on a Friday night to play a game. They'll be coming to us. We will go Thursday for the JV game, so we'll be getting home late from that. But Livingston's an adventure. It's a good place, and I'm telling you from watching film, it's a whole different team, like a whole different ball club, a whole different attitude. They got a win last week versus Shepherd. That's their first win, I think, in maybe 17, 18 games or something like that.
They snapped the 19-game win streak.
Losing
streak, yes.
They won on the last play, untimed down, last play of the game. They're down, they're losing. Shepherd goes up late, 40 seconds left, whatever it is. Livingston comes back, drives the ball down the field. There's a PI call in the end zone, gives them the ball in like the 8. So literally there's no time on the clock, last play of the game, and they throw a touchdown pass to win it. So they're coming in with some confidence and some excitement.
For yourself on the other end, you've been a coach of a team that has had its struggles before. You've played on teams that have had their struggles before.
Golly.
We don't want to call you out,
the bus.
But how big is it to just finally break through and get a win? What do you think that did for their morale?
Well, I think what it is when we talked to last year and we looked at last year, if you're honest and you're humble enough to look back and say, this is what we did wrong, this is where we screwed up, how we fix it. And then you figure those things out and you start preaching it to your kids in off season. Here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it. You preach it, you preach it, you preach it. You preach in the summer with summer workouts. You preach, you preach, you preach. 2-a-day starts, preach and preach. And then so now you finally have some success, albeit it's just one game. We have a little success and the kids kind of go, oh yeah, this is why we're doing it. And they kind of buy into what you're selling a little bit, and so it gets them more involved in it. So, if we're selling it, and we go out week 1 and get beat 100-0, the odds of them buying into what we're doing, it goes down a little bit.
They're not going to be exactly bouncing around the practice.
Yeah, why do we do all that?
Right.
Exactly. And so it was good. We did a lot of soul searching last year after the season as a staff. We went and visited some schools and see how they do things, and not just offensively, but off-season wise. We went to Liberty Hill. And visited those guys. They run the same offense we do. They got beat in the state championship game by Waco La Vega. And so me and my old offense coordinator rode up there with Coach Matthews from Vidor, and really just to kind of talk offense. Hey, we run the same offense. We got the same type kids. One of us didn't make the playoffs. One of us went to the state championship game. What's the difference?
Right.
So let's learn. I'll go learn X's and O's from anybody. But we actually got to watch them go through off season 2 days. And I was in off season for 5 minutes, and I knew exactly what it was. Those kids were tougher than us. And it was like unbelievable. For a minute, I looked at Coach Matthews. I thought, I think we'll get run off if we do this. There's no way. And that's a lesson I learned, was to not, I guess not give our kids enough due. You know what I'm saying? Because here I am thinking our kids won't buy into this and won't do this. It's too hard. And when we came back and implemented some of that stuff, they jumped in head first and said, let's do it. And I kind of learned a little bit, don't ever underestimate your kids. You set the expectations in the bar here, most of the time they'll rise to those expectations. And so we amped up off season, we amped up the summer, and we emphasized mental and physical toughness. And so far they've answered the bell.
So let me ask you this in terms of the toughness. Physical, yes, that we can get that taken care of, but in terms of mental and this PC culture, it's not like how Ash and all three of us were whenever we first grew up, and mentally, it could be draining. So what was your guys' approach to that?
Well, first of all, when you have a season that was disappointing like it was last year, I mean, what are they going to say? You know what I'm saying? Here's what we did last year. It didn't work. Here's why we're changing it. So, I mean, you kind of had, if we were going to change something, this was the year to do it. And so they bought into it. We've got a lot of seniors, like 16, 17 seniors this year on the team. They realize it's their last year of high school football. Some of them, it'll probably be their last year they'll ever put on a helmet play in their life. Yeah. So they were willing to go all in with us and go through this adventure with us through off season in the summer. And so it wasn't hard to sell it to them, but I think they were disappointed in how last year went. And so they want to try to change that a little bit.
All right, Coach, we're going to take a quick timeout. After we come back, we're going to talk a little bit, more football and all about off-season programs and things like that. But we're also going to talk about maybe some relationships with some other coaches because y'all get going back and forth on Twitter and the gloves come off. So we're going to be talking about that coming up later here on X's and O's. And welcome back to the 409 Sports X's and O's here with Coach Josh Smalley from the Orangefield Bobcats. And we said we were going to, kind of relax a little bit here in the second portion and talking about some relationships with coaches, specifically Eric Peavy.
Oh, yeah.
And the hair.
The man.
I know I got great hair, but he has better hair.
When I said that, and people kind of took it as like I was kind of jabbing at him. But in all honesty, I'm jealous of it. I mean, look at what I'm dealing with up here. If somebody ever accused me of wearing a wig, I'd be the happiest person on the face of the planet. I mean, that guy's head of hair is so miraculous, it can't be real. Like, there's no way something that perfect can be real. It doesn't blow in the wind. Nope. It doesn't have any gray in it. I mean, it's perfectly combed. It's got a, little whatever the new the thing that young people do now with their hair. You know what I'm saying? It's perfect. And so it really wasn't a jab at the guy. Like, I wish somebody said, "Man, that Coach Smalley guy must be wearing a wig. Look at that head of hair." But
so
it ain't gonna happen.
No hair club for men for you then.
Well, I can grow hair everywhere but the top of my head.
All right.
That's more than we ever needed to know.
I'm already
y'all took it that way. I was talking about my ears or, my back or something. Okay. God dang, you guys, man, y'all going to some bad places.
Talking about the relationships with the coaches, because, you were just talking about going on the road with Coach Matthews from Vider, and, y'all try to help each other in the offseason. You're rivals, but some of you are in different districts, but you have friendships that last, decades.
It's to me, I tell people, it's the greatest profession this side of the pearly gates. I mean, the opportunities we get every day to influence kids' lives in a positive or negative way, hopefully a positive way, you can't put a price on that. And then so also what comes with that is relationships you build with the other coaches. Yeah, we compete against each other and we want to beat each other on Friday night and all that. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. And we have a great relationship with every coach in our district. I've got a great relationship with coaches that aren't in our district. It's fun to get around and talk and kind of cut up with each other because we're all going through the same things. We all got to deal with problems. We all got to deal with the goods and the bads. And so it's easy to sit around and say, "Hey, man, this happened to me." He goes, "Oh, yeah. Well, I can one-up you. This happened to me." And then, it's like the old fishing tale, It
just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I caught one this big. And so, but it's nice. Those guys are all quality human beings. I usually talk to Coach Thompson once a week on the phone in West Orange. And, he's been real helpful since I've become a head coach and willing to share any information. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about those programs, because every year as a staff we'll try to find somebody that's had some success, whether they went to the state championship or not, and we'll call them and say, "Hey, look, can we come talk to you?" And 100% of them have said, "Yeah, sure, come on up and visit." And so, we've been to Carthage, we've been to Pleasant Grove, we've been to Brock, we've been to East Bernard, we went to like Liberty Hill. We've been to a bunch of places, far off and traveled, but we've also sat down together with the Jaspers at the Bar Bay Clinic. We've sat down with the Newton Eagles staff, and we've sat down with different people and just picked each other's brains and learned. And everybody's willing to help. Like, nobody said, "No, I'm not going to tell you anything." No, we're not. Even the people in our district, no, we're not doing it.
Is there a type fraternity of, the slot T
They
The
call
SWAT T
they call
fraternity?
it the SWAT T Mafia.
The SWAT team.
And it's a real deal.
That's
I
real.
promise you, it is a real deal. Like, you got to have a card. If you throw the
Wow.
ball too much, they take your card away from you.
You know,
You
Jeff.
get tatted
Jeff.
up?
Yes.
Jeff over at Vita tries to throw the ball every once in a while. He's gonna get kicked out.
He better not let them know.
Right.
Because hey, when we went to Liberty Hill, we were talking to the Liberty Hill guys, and they said, "Hey, look, there's a SWAT T clinic at so and so's high school, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's a real deal. They get down there, and it's nothing but SWAT T coaches, and you got to get up and present, and you got to do things. It is only a few people get invited to go to it.
We need to find our way in.
We have to find
some way. We
going
need to get that
inside
card.
the
That's
SWAT
right.
T Mafia.
SWAT T Mafia.
What's your SWAT T Mafia name?
Well,
Do you
I
have a
can't
name?
give that out. I have
Wow.
to,
We
you know what
tried.
I'm saying? There's some secret stuff.
Is there a password that we need to
There's
know?
a handshake.
Handshake?
There's a
Handshake.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a handshake.
So
It
you're not
doesn't,
gonna
it doesn't involve the forward pass.
Okay.
I'll just say
no
that.
forward pass.
No forward pass handshakes.
I have a feeling it's going to include a chop block. or two.
Ooh, I like
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
There's
The
no
alleged
chop
chop
blocking.
block.
Allegedly.
Right.
We don't teach that.
We don't teach that, but you see some kids that are, never mind, but end up on the ground. maybe.
Man.
So
They-
Coach,
they
you,
fail.
you talked about relationships.
Yeah.
You know, how important is it, especially for the players, to build those relationships, you know, and grow these, you know, young boys into young men, especially after their football career is over with. To
Well,
get
I'm
them out
glad
to the
you
real
asked me
world.
that question at 43 instead of 23. You know, because at 23 I probably would have given you a different answer. But at 43, it's the reason why I get up in the morning and go to work. Like, I really enjoy crawling out of bed and going to work. You know, the day-to-day relationship with the kids, whether they're a football player or an athlete or just somebody walking the hallways, is what still gets me excited to go. It keeps me young. You know, we have a huge responsibility as coaches to not only be football coaches, but be mentors, be dads, you know, be a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen to. You know, we have a huge umbrella of job titles that we cover besides football coach. And so that's my goal every day, is to go be positive somebody and be a positive role model, and, you know, to help be an example of what it means to be a good husband, a faithful and good husband, what it means to be an example, be a good dad, stepdad, what example it means to be the hard work, you know, be a man of your word, show up and work hard every day, earn your paycheck. That kind of stuff, I think, is what we should be doing. Winning's fun, X's and O's, football's great, and, you know, and that's why most of us got into the profession, because we enjoy the competitiveness and playing, and we enjoy the game. But, you know, if I win 1,000 games as a head coach, or I win 0 games as a head coach, if I'm more of if I do a better job on that other spectrum of helping raise young men and women to be good people and good citizens, then I don't care if I win 0 games. I will feel like successful in my eyes, but I know I won't last very long as a head coach. You know what I'm saying?
You're
but
in Texas high school football.
That's
You
right.
wanna win.
And I
Might get
understand
cut
that.
fast, but
That-
we love the message.
That's correct, and I understand that. You don't take a head coaching job, football job, and say Texas, and I understand you're expected to win. But I'll take that other stuff every day of the week. I mean, you know, when you're 20 years into this and you got people coming from your first, second year of coaching, and they see you at the store, hey man, thanks for all you did for me. I really appreciate it. How you doing today? That kind of stuff. You know, that's what it means. Or they come back a year later and they just want to watch practice. I'm like, you ain't got nothing better to do. It's 105. It's 2,000 degrees outside.
Right.
You know, what are you doing? But they just want to come be around, and man, it's an awesome responsibility. And you know, it took me a little bit later in my coaching career to kind of figure all that stuff out. You know, why we do it. This is a mission field for me, and the influence we can have. And I'm telling you, the day I hang it up, whatever day that is, that'll be what I miss the most, is the day-to-day with the locker rooms, the bus rides, you know, the pregame when you're in there, it's just you guys.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody else in there, it's just you. And that's the kind of stuff that I'll miss the most. But it's fun, man. They keep you on your toes. They give me a hard time every day about being a New England Patriots fan. They
man.
rip me.
We got a deflated football behind the set, if you will.
As long as it comes with 6 Lombardis, I don't care what it is,
Oh,
so that's
man.
fine. But they give me a hard time, and they joke around with me, and I give it right back at them. But at the end of the day, I love working at Orangefield. I love the people I work for. I love the people I work with. I love our kids. I love our community. It's the right place for me and my family, and I enjoy every day getting up and going to work.
Now, even though, of course, that's more important than the wins and losses.
Sure.
But before last season, y'all are starting to build a playoff tradition out there.
Yeah, we had
Orangefield.
5 in a row, 5 playoff trips in a row.
Could you imagine? Because I remember how many years y'all were so close.
Yeah.
So close to getting in, and then you had 5 straight years. Has the mentality changed out there?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations are, I thought last year, when we were talking earlier about going back and looking at what you did good and what you did wrong and how to fix some things. And people bring up the injury bug. We lost our quarterback in the first district game to an ACL injury. And, I try to tell people now, I don't really want to use that as an excuse. Everybody faces hard times. Everybody faces injuries at some point in the season. And to me, it kind of takes the credit away from the other teams and the other coaches. They coached better. They played better than we did. Tip your hat to them and congratulate those guys. But the one thing I learned is that complacency is the devil. Don't, just because things have been riding smooth for 5 years, don't ever sit back and think, well, this is just going to how it's continued to going to be, because it's not. And that's what's impressive to me about West Orange Stark. That's what's impressive to me about Carthage. That's what's impressive to me about, those guys that you think would have earned the right at one point to say, you know what, we've had a good run. Let's just kind of take the foot off the gas and let's not watch film, or let's not work out today, or but they never do that. And so, that's why I'm very impressed with Coach Thompson and West Orange and what they do, because every year they're the hunted. Every year the expectations is we're going to Cowboy Stadium, and if they don't, it's a disappointment. And they get there every year, and they've never relaxed. They don't ever get complacent. They don't ever take things for granted. And I learned that last year. I hate that it took the season that it did for me to learn some of those things, but I've learned, and hopefully we can correct it.
That's what Coach Thompson said. 2 days got started. Yeah. They had 5 losses last year. Yeah. State quarterfinalists. He said that's unacceptable at West Orange Stark.
I thought he played 14 games.
Right, 14 games. 14 games, 5 losses, unacceptable. They only made it to the state quarterfinals.
He's going to have a hard time finding some sympathy around the coaching profession for him. But he's right. I mean, and I really think that that's impressive that those guys never – you would think at some point he'd get up and go, you know what, I just don't want to go to work today. Or you know what, we're just going to do this different. And they never do. And it's about consistency. It's about never becoming complacent. It's about the small details that matter, and they always own it. And like I said, I've learned so much over the past year. I hope it translates into more wins, honestly, but I can guarantee you I've become a better coach because of it.
Essentially, it's the Bill Belichick way now. Is that why you're a Patriots fan? Because there's no way you live in Southeast Texas
I'll
become a Patriots fan.
I'll tell you the story on that.
There it is. We want to know.
This is the truth now.
Okay.
92, 93, I think was when Kraft bought the team. 94, somewhere around there. I was in high school.
So you weren't a fan of during Super Bowl 20 against the Bears?
No. My dad grew up. My dad's from Pittsburgh. My dad's from Pittsburgh. I grew up in Southeast Texas. My dad's from Pittsburgh.
Still
so
perfect.
Obviously you couldn't be a Cowboy fan in my house.
For sure.
Well, we're so far away
and
from Pittsburgh.
I'm 100% behind that.
Well, that's very disappointing as a big Cowboys fan.
I know, but I'm just telling you, want that. But we were so far away from Pittsburgh, like I wasn't a Pittsburgh fan either.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have an NFL team. I love college football. I didn't have an NFL team. So about the time Kraft bought the team, Parcells was the head coach. I always liked Parcells. They drafted a guy named Drew Bledsoe out of Washington State. So I kind of just jumped on board, not knowing what it was going to become. Well, then 96, they end up in the Super Bowl, get beat by the Packers. And I've just stayed on that train ever since, and it's become what it's become. And people will say, oh, you bandwagon guy. I'm like, no, I'm really not. It's been 27
Curtis
years.
Martin, Ben Coach days.
It's Terry Glenn, name them, all those guys that I grew up watching. And it's really, I respect, it's the same thing with Cornell. I mean, with Belichick. If a guy's ever earned the right to just sit back and go, it's been a great run, and they never do it. They're there every year, and with college you can recruit and get your players and all that. NFL, you can sign guys and draft and stuff like that, but it changes so much, and it just doesn't seem like it matters who's there. As long as he's there, they're going to be competitive. They're prepared. It just seems like there's no detail that's not talked about. They give up 3 points in the Super Bowl to a high. They held the Chiefs scoreless in the first half in the AFC Championship game. It's for whatever reason, whatever he does, deflated football, I don't know, Spygate, but whatever it is, it works. And other teams aren't doing it.
It's crazy because, for a lot of people, you can't even, outside of Tom Brady, you really can't even name 5 players.
Yeah. Well, just look how many guys are in the Hall of Fame that they've played with during this run. They're just now getting some people in,
right.
Ty Law, Randy Moss, that kind of stuff. Yep. Well, not even Randy Moss. He wasn't there very long.
No.
So you're doing all this without what they, Tom will be in there, no doubt about it. But, Gronk retired. I don't know if he's played long enough to seal a Hall of Fame
Same with
career.
Edelman. It's
Edelman,
statistically great, a lot of great stuff, but Hall of Fame career.
So you're doing all this. Yeah. You're doing all this without what I would say surefire Hall of Fame type people, and you're still winning. And your quarterback's 42 years old, and your head coach is in his upper 60s, and you know, the NFL's changing and we're doing this and we become younger and up tempo and blah, blah, blah. And then here's the same old steady hand every
And I'll
time.
say this, I never understood the hate for Tom Brady.
No,
He's
the
a
GOAT.
6th-round draft pick with a dad bod before dad bods were, like the go-to thing.
Yep.
And he goes out there and
I don't
he just
get
wins.
it either, because if you listen to anybody who's ever played with him, that nobody has anything bad to say
Right.
about him. Like, he's a humble human
People hate
being.
winners.
Yeah.
He's
When
a
it comes
humble
down
human-
to it, they hate
Yes.
winners.
Everybody's
That's
rooting for
why
the
nobody
first
hates
time
me. I'm a very likable guy.
Everybody likes Coach Smalley.
Yeah, well, not everybody, but you know, most people. My wife sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And you got out here, and it wasn't date night, right? Because I know
No,
Wednesday
no,
nights.
no. We've got like I said, we've got a grandson on the way at the end of September, so she's at home fixing up a little baby room, and we've been working on that. So she's doing that. So she would rather be there doing that, you know, for our grandson coming, than probably go out on a date with me. So she's happy.
No painting? You don't have to go do any painting or anything like
That's
that?
the
measuring.
worst.
The worst.
Yeah, no, it is. It really
It's
is.
not
I
really,
mean,
it's
I
not really the
painted
painting that's the worst, but it's the prep and the cleanup that's the worst, I think, for painting.
Cleanup, not so much. The prep, though,
Yes.
yes. It seriously could take longer than the painting. It really is ridiculous. And then my dad will come up and be like, "What was this, son? I'm the worst painter of all time."
I would
so,
rather pay somebody to do it.
absolutely.
I don't have money to pay somebody, but I'd rather pay somebody to do it.
But Orangeville's not paying you about $6
No.
yet?
Come on
Things
now.
are good. I can't complain. You know, when I started out in coaching, I didn't even think I wanted to be a head coach. You know, I thought I'd be an assistant and maybe be a coordinator one day, and then you get to be a coordinator and you kind of roll and you learn from some great people. You know, I worked for Claude Tarver. I worked for Jeff Matthews for a year. I worked for David Williams, Little Cypress. You know, I've worked for, I'm probably going to leave somebody out, I don't mean to, but Blake Morrison, who's now Dieball. You work for some quality individuals and you start to say, well, maybe I can do that. Chris Stump at Bridge City, I worked for him. And then you become a head coach, and so you start to get up there in the coaching profession. And you know, money is what it is. It ain't why I do it. I promise you that. I feel like, you know, like you feel like you do it for free. You enjoy it so much, you feel like you're not really working. But no, the checks, Orangefield's treated me well. I can't complain about nothing.
So, real quick, out of those guys you mentioned, who has been the most influential to you in your career?
I will say it's probably not even one of the head coaches. It's a guy that was at Bridge City as an assistant when I was playing. And he was at Bridge City as an assistant when I started coaching at Bridge City. His name's Richard Briggs. And he was a coach at Bridge City forever. He coached me on the varsity level when I was at Bridge City. He was the head basketball coach at Bridge City for a while, became the principal for a little bit, and then became athletic director for a little while. That guy was my 9th grade history teacher, world geography, when I first got to high school in Bridge City, and he made fun of me the very first day of class. And
Did you have no hair too back
well,
then?
no, I had some hair. Back then, I wasn't this fat. I had hair. But hey, he knew I was a freshman quarterback, and so he brought out a spiral notebook. He said, "Y'all need a spiral notebook. If anybody doesn't know what this is, it's what Coach Smalley can't throw." Well, he didn't call me Coach Smalley, but
Right.
and so from then on, man, I was hooked. He played George Jones every day in the classroom, so I was hooked on that. And but that guy probably has influenced me more, both coaching and what it's like to be a man and be a father and, you know, be a husband, than probably anybody I have. But the head coaching deal, man, it's everybody. Jeff Matthews was great. Claude Tarver was great. Chris Stump gave me a lot of responsibility as a coordinator and let me do my job, and I learned a lot from him. David Williams, you know, workaholic. I mean, he looks like he's younger now than he did when I worked for him. I saw him the day of scrimmage. So, you know, you take little bits and pieces from everybody that you work for, and you try to blend it into your personality, and you be you, you know.
All right, Coach. Well, that brings us to the end of X's and O's. Time flies when you're having fun out here.
Yes, it does.
The 409 Sports Blitz, we're going to hit the road for a little Orange Bowl showdown. We're still calling it the Orange Bowl, even if some people aren't. LCM, West Orange Stark will be there. Coach,
Hey, appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
so much.
Coach.
Yep,
Appreciate
y'all
it.
have a good one.
that's another edition of X's and O's.